Emmanuel, a 25-year-old man, his life had already started slipping through his fingers, though it didn't begin that way. Emmanuel grew up in a fairly disciplined African home. His father was a secondary school teacher, strict but principled, a man who believed that education was the only inheritance worth leaving behind. His mother was a petty trader who sold provisions in front of their house, known in the neighborhood for her kindness and perseverance. From a young age, Emmanuel showed promise. He was calm, respectful, and intelligent. Teachers trusted him. Elders admired him. To his parents, he was proof that their sacrifices were not in vain. When Emmanuel gained admission into the university, the entire family celebrated. It wasn't just his success, it was their victory. His father slaughtered a chicken despite how tight money was. His mother cried tears of joy as neighbors congratulated her. "This boy will go far," people said. Emmanuel believed it too. University life was different from everything Emmanuel had known. No one monitored his movements. No one forced him to wake early or questioned where he was coming from. Freedom tasted sweet and dangerous. At first, Emmanuel focused on his studies. He attended lectures regularly, joined study groups, and kept in touch with home. But slowly, loneliness crept in. The campus was large, noisy, and competitive. Everyone seemed to be chasing something: money, connections, pleasure, status. That was when he met Kola and Ibrahim. They were in his faculty, a year ahead of him. Confident, popular, always surrounded by people. They dressed well, spoke boldly, and seemed untouched by stress. Kola was the loud one, always joking, always laughing. Ibrahim was calmer, more observant, with a quiet confidence that drew people in. They took Emmanuel in easily, inviting him to hang out after lectures. "You're too gentle," Kola once laughed. "University will harden you if you don't learn fast." Emmanuel smiled, unsure of what that meant. The first time Emmanuel noticed something strange was during a late-night hangout behind the hostel. The place was quiet, dimly lit, and filled with whispers and laughter. Kola brought out something Emmanuel didn't recognize immediately. "Relax," Ibrahim said when he noticed Emmanuel's hesitation. "It's nothing serious." Emmanuel felt uncomfortable. He remembered his father's warnings. He remembered sermons from church. He remembered everything he had been taught. "I don't do stuff like this," he said softly. Kola laughed. "Guy, nobody is forcing you. Just don't be boring." The word boring stuck. Emmanuel didn't try anything that night, but something shifted inside him. He didn't like feeling left out. He didn't like being seen as weak or childish. And deep down, the stress of school and expectations was starting to weigh on him. As weeks passed, Emmanuel noticed how relaxed his friends always were. Exams didn't seem to bother them. Financial issues didn't shake them. While others complained, they laughed. One night, after failing a test he had studied hard for, Emmanuel felt overwhelmed. He couldn't sleep. His chest felt heavy. His thoughts raced endlessly. The next day, Kola noticed his mood. "You think too much," Kola said. "Come and free your mind." That night, Emmanuel followed them again. "This one will just help you relax," Ibrahim assured him. "Just once." Emmanuel hesitated for a long moment. Just once, he thought. He didn't know that many people had destroyed their lives with those same two words. Emmanuel didn't feel proud afterward. He didn't feel bold. What he felt was quiet, a strange calm that silenced his worries. For the first time in weeks, he slept peacefully. The next morning, guilt hit him hard. He promised himself it would never happen again. He prayed. He avoided his friends for days. But temptation has patience. When stress returned, the memory of that calm followed it. Emmanuel began to associate relief with that experience. Slowly, excuses formed in his mind. It's not addiction. I'm in control. Others are doing worse things. Kola and Ibrahim noticed the change. You see, Kola smiled one day. You're becoming a real campus guy. Emmanuel laughed weakly, not knowing whether to be proud or afraid. By the end of his first year, Emmanuel was no longer the same boy who had arrived on campus full of hope. The foundation of his values had cracked, just slightly, but enough. He hadn't fallen yet. But the road ahead was already pulling him downhill. And Emmanuel didn't realize that the friends he trusted were unknowingly leading him toward a battle he was not prepared to fight. By Emmanuel's second year in the university, the change was no longer subtle. What started as occasional had become necessary. He no longer waited for Kola or Ibrahim to suggest it. Whenever stress appeared, missed lectures, financial pressure, fear of failure, his mind ran to one place. The calm he once felt now demanded repetition, and repetition slowly demanded more. His attendance dropped. Assignments piled up. Emmanuel, who once sat at the front of lecture halls, now stayed at the back, or didn't show up at all. Guy, school no be everything, Kola often said. Enjoy life small. Ibrahim said less, but his silence was just as dangerous. He had become deeply trapped himself, and instead of warning Emmanuel, he normalized the habit. Emmanuel knew something was wrong. But knowing didn't mean stopping. When Emmanuel went home during holidays, his parents noticed immediately. You've lost weight, his mother said, touching his face with concern. You don't eat like before. His father watched quietly, noticing Emmanuel's restlessness, the way his eyes avoided contact, the irritation in his voice. Are you okay in school? His father asked one evening. I'm fine, Emmanuel replied quickly. It was a lie, but one he told so often it began to sound like the truth. Back on campus, things worsened. Money sent from home disappeared within days. Emmanuel began borrowing from friends, then avoiding them when he couldn't pay back. He sold his phone, then his laptop. Yet the hunger for drugs remained. Addiction had taken control. The day Emmanuel received the notice of academic probation, his hands trembled. He stared at the paper for a long time, hoping the words would change. They didn't. Fear gripped him, but instead of pushing him to change, it pushed him deeper into drugs. He avoided calls from home. He avoided reality. Nights blended into days. Days lost meaning. Kola was expelled after being caught during a raid. Ibrahim disappeared from campus shortly after. Suddenly, Emmanuel was alone, with the addiction they had introduced him to. By 25, Emmanuel was no longer a student. He had dropped out quietly, without ceremony. No graduation. No celebration. No future plan. He wandered between friends' rooms, abandoned buildings, and street corners. Jobs didn't last, his attitude, instability, and lack of focus drove employers away. His parents eventually heard the truth. His mother cried until she fell sick. His father aged overnight, burdened by shame and helplessness. They tried to bring Emmanuel home. They prayed. They pleaded. They sought help. But Emmanuel was no longer fully present. One evening, Emmanuel sat alone behind a rundown shop, shaking, hungry, exhausted. He looked at his reflection in a broken mirror and barely recognized himself. This was not the boy who had entered the university with dreams. This was not the son his parents raised. Addiction had stolen everything: his education, his dignity, his relationships, his future. Months later, news reached his family that Emmanuel had collapsed on the street and was rushed to a nearby clinic. His body was weak, his system damaged. There was nothing much they could do. Emmanuel survived, but the damage was permanent. He could no longer function independently. His health was broken, his mind unstable, his dreams completely erased. At 25, Emmanuel was alive. But his life was over. Emmanuel did not start with drugs intending to be destroyed. He started with friends, with pressure, with curiosity, with just once. But addiction does not stop where you want it to. It takes control, then it takes everything. This is the reality for many young people. Not everyone gets a second chance.